I think everything builds upon everything else, and so the first hurdle is just getting what he's saying accurately translated. And so what we had was enough to see what he was saying and to see how he spoke. And it frankly reminded me of the first time that I read the Quran. And just reading the Quran and seeing what the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And there's something there that is so obvious that this is sincere truth. Now, that's a personal type of thing. It's not something that, you can tell people, this is how I see it, and so you should see it the same way. Right. But to me, it is very obvious. And then after that, it's a matter of sorting through everything and building upon it. And so with the Imam al-Islam and his writings and his speeches, they all interconnect. And it's like the totality of the Quran, where you can't take one part separately, or if you do, you might misunderstand without referring to the rest. It's very similar with Ahmed Al Hasan al-Islam. And so he explains many different topics. We started with one of the first books that we did was The Sealing Prophethood. And each one of these books and sermons, he touches upon things and explains things in a way that's not like he's telling you, here's how it is, believe me. He lays out the evidence and he shows why it is that he believes it to be true. Not somebody that's saying, here it is what you should believe and I'm not going to back it up with any evidence. And so every person has the opportunity, looking at what he's presented. He's done all of the work. You just have to look at it yourself and see. And you can judge it and you can compare it to other things. I've read many, many different religious people's writings and heard them speak. And I'm, like you said, a scientist. I was a mathematician, a chemist, and a physician and surgeon. And so I look at everything from the standpoint of, what is the weight of evidence behind this? Is this just something I think, or is it something that has evidence? Is it possible to interpret it multiple different ways? And so when you look at what he presents things that I've never heard. Nobody's ever heard what he said in his books. There's many, many, many examples. In the Atheism Delusion, for example, and he presented this on his Facebook post before we even had it translated. But he asked many questions for people to consider before we even had it translated. And one of the questions was about Adam alayhi salam, and where was Adam, when was Adam, and these types of questions. In the book, he also has a very short section, but it's so dense that you could sit there and look at this for hours on end, just on Jesus, alayhi salam, and how it is. And this is another scientific question that any scientific person that has enough medical background could look at it and say, how is it that a woman can have a child that's a male? Because a woman, in general, has two X chromosomes, and a male has an X and a Y chromosome. And so how is it that that could happen scientifically? And he explains it in a matter of a few paragraphs, scientifically, not religiously. And so he also includes what other religious people say. And in the book, he has what atheist scientists say, what non-atheist scientists say, what religious non-scientists say, and you can compare it for yourself, and it's very obvious that most religious people aren't scientists, and most scientists aren't religious. And so
right.
he's very unique in the ability to present both aspects of this in a way that's 100% consistent, which nobody else can do.